What is good? Can you guys hear me okay? How's everyone doing? Did anyone work out this morning? Work out? How many people have done a 5K before? 10K? 50K? Any 100-milers? Any ultras in here? Couple? One? None? We're going to stretch before we start. Is that cool with everyone? All right, cool. So, as she said, I bear crawled New York City Marathon in 2020. And I'm going to take you guys through a couple stretches that prepared me to bear crawl 26.2 miles. So, go right here real quick on your hands and knees. This will feel good. Everyone can kind of see me? All right, so your hands are going to be, give me like 12 inches from your knees, all right? Lock your elbows out. You're going to feel good. And just rock back and forth. Nice and easy. Now, the thing about bear crawling, you're obviously on all fours, and so your wrists have to be super flexible, right? And so now flip them around where your thumbs are on the outside. Same thing, kind of back and forth. There you go. And then the fun one is right here. And now lean back and forth. There you go. And if you want, you can do like a push-up with it. No, don't do that. No, shake it out. All right, shake it out real quick. And I want everyone actually to come with me to the end of this room. Leave your stuff at your mat. We're going to get in two lines right here. Everyone, come right over here, all the way at the end. All the way. Now, if you have stuff, I'm going to pull it over a little bit and just get in two lines right here. One's right here. Right here. Who wants to go first? There you go. And then who's number two right here? You want to go right behind you? What's your name, brother? Keith. You have two different socks on. All right, check it out. I want everyone, all you got to do, we're going to bear crawl to the end. All right, nice and easy. It's easy. Bear crawl is where you're on all fours like this. All right? All right, let's get it going. Come on, Keith. And then right afterwards, come all the way to the end and then go right back to your seats. There you go. It's not that bad. I did the distance. This is about what? 50 feet? 100 feet? It's not bad. You gotta watch out for the obstacles. In New York City, people don't pick up their dog poop. So watch out for the shoes. Keep your head up. There you go. Then just run right back to your seat. Get comfortable. There you go. Bend your knees a little bit. There you go. Oh, you're next. There you go. Run back to your seats all the way to the end. Everyone get a nice little bear crawl in today. There you go. We have a couple more people. Finish out the bear crawl all the way. There you go. Good job. Way to be. Not bad. In jeans. There you go. Good job, brother. Good job. Light. All right, real quick. Lisa, what, you bear crawled?
I did.
Where'd you feel it?
I felt it in my wrist.
In your wrist and your lower back. Where'd you feel it? Thighs.
Yeah, that's right.
Thighs. You feel it in your thighs. Your thighs are on fire. Everyone's like, Dev, your back must have been killing your wrist. It's my thighs. Your thighs are on fire. Now, 26.2 miles, it took me 20 hours, 48 minutes to do, right? It was cool. World record. It was fucking hard. It was 20 degrees outside. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. They wrapped my hand 7 times. So they had a gel pack, then they put tape, and then more gel. They essentially created shoes on my hands. And people ask me 2 questions, like how and why, right? Now the how is really simple, and everyone essentially has this trait in this room, or you probably wouldn't be here. Everyone in this room is they're a go-getter. They want to do better in life. You don't quit, right? That's the how, right? What's one time in life that you didn't quit? Give me one.
Okay. I'm training to be a Pilates instructor.
It's hard. You're not quitting. Way to be. training to be a Pilates instructor. Lisa, what about you? One time you didn't quit. Fuck yeah. Seizure after seizure. What about you? What's your name?
Mary.
Mary, what's one time that you didn't quit?
When our company lost
Lost your company's funding. That is terrible, but you didn't quit. You're here today. Let's go. Anyone else lose funding from their company? Yeah, that fucking sucks. But you didn't quit. What's one time you didn't quit?
New York City Marathon.
Let's go. Give it up for her. One time you didn't quit.
Oh, anytime in any business.
Everything. Life.
Yeah.
Life, man. Well, that's the easy part, right? Like not quitting. You guys wouldn't be here. You guys aren't quitters. The other question is obviously why. And that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. I haven't shared this story at all, actually. I was on Richard Branson's island 2 weeks ago on this event, and they had me share this, but I didn't go as deep as I wanted to. And when Jody asked me to come out here, I was like, I'm going to go deep on this convo. I got you, Jody. Let's go. Jody, did you bear crawl? Did you use bear crawl? You did? Okay. Give it up for Jody, by the way. No one knows this, but the electricity has gone out. She told me 4 times today, so if it goes out today, I'll just scream. But great job to your Summit team. You guys are savages. Anyways, my why. So it helps if I give you a little bit of a background, and then I'm gonna kind of explain why. So, grew up in New Hampshire. Anyone grew up in a really small town in this room? Small town kids. There was 1,500 people in my town I grew up in. There's one pizza shop, one gas station, one bank, and you kind of had to make your own fun. How'd you make your own fun? You fished, and then you tried to ski or snowboard in the winter. That was like really the 2 main things. And the other way you make fun when you're 16 years old is you steal your parents' alcohol, right? And I remember it was July 17th specifically, and I had this one buddy, his name was Matty Miller. And Matty was kind of that friend that always got me in trouble. He was like, Dev, let's go tip these cows. Dev, let's go light these bullfrogs on fire. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, that is not a good idea or humane. And he's like, Dev, let's steal your dad's alcohol tonight and let's have fun tomorrow night. And I'm like, 16? I'm like, fuck yeah. So we grabbed this Nalgene bottle and we go into my dad's liquor cabinet and we put tequila with like rum and then maybe a little vodka. Then he had like Goldschlager. There was these little things floating around. I was like, what the fuck is this? It's gonna taste great. And, you know, we were planning the next day, we were gonna go camping with these 2 girls. 16, we're gonna have, get a little frisky, drink some alcohol, have some fun. Now, the funny thing is though, in New Hampshire, you can get your license when you're 15 years old. And so you have to go to driver's ed though, right? So next morning, I wake up at 4:30. Why am I up at 4:30? 16 years old. On July 17th, well, my dad owned a company, construction company, drywall. And every morning, he was like a hardcore dude. Devon, we're up at 4:30. We're going into work. Pack the truck. You're coming in. I'm like, fuck, okay, another day. And so I go into work with him. And when we're at work, the thing with my dad was he's constantly saying, Devon, there's always something to do. Go scrap the metal, right? In all of our businesses, there's always something to do, right? Always, no matter what. You're in the restaurant industry, you own, a psilocybin company, if you own a fund, whatever it is, there's always Lisa's company, neuroplasticity, there's always something to do. And so when you're on a job site, you're scrapping metal, you're hanging sheetrock, you're screwing in the sheets, you're doing something, and he's always like, Dev, get your hands out of your pocket, go get us lunch. Dev, get your hands out of your pocket, go scrap this metal. Devon, get your hands out of your pocket, go, drill this into the wall, whatever it was. I'm like, okay. He's also my football coach. He was a professional weightlifter. So I'm trying to paint the picture of who this guy was. Super hardcore, OCD. Dev, get your fucking hands out of your pocket. I'm like, okay. And so business as usual, 4:30 until about 1 p.m. And so he's like, Dev, I'm dropping you off at driver's ed. I'll pick you up in 3 hours. Don't get in trouble with Maddie. And I'm like, okay, well, we already started drinking. So, and so I remember going to driver's ed. And I'm tipsy, and I'm like, holy shit, definitely gonna get in trouble after this. 3 hours go by. This girl, Hannah, Kayla, Maddie are all in the class, and we're like, we're about to have some fun tonight. And I get picked up. Now, Maddie's like, dude, my mom's here. And I'm like, shit. When Maddie's mom shows up, you're in trouble. You're automatic trouble. And she shows up. We walk outside, and I'm like, oh my God. I have the Nalgene bottle with me. It was stressful. And I get in the back of her car, and she had this blank look on her face. And she said 3 words that changed my life forever. Your father's dead. And I'm like, I started screaming. I started kicking the seat. I started calling him. I didn't know what to do. I was lost. I'm 16 years old. Anyone in here has lost a parent? Right? And I know a couple of you have lost them tragically, like out of fucking nowhere. And it's the craziest feeling in the world. You're just like, what do you do? New Hampshire, nothing's close to each other. So that drive back to my house was an hour. And I must have called them about 1,000 times. It just kept going to voicemail. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I get to the house, and there's police outside the house. There's family. There's neighbors. Everyone's like, what the hell is going on? And I come to find out that day, right when he dropped me off, he went and jumped in front of a truck, and he killed himself. And it was really strange to me because we were having such a good morning, and he was so happy. And I remember us joking on the job site, and he was a joker, and like everything was fine, and then just not fine. Now I have 4 sisters, so I had to tell every single sister. One of my sisters, Katie, she was at camp at the time, and I texted her. I said, "Hey, I have to come and grab you. I have to tell you something." So we drove out there, and it was dark, and I walk up to my sister, and I'm like, and she just looks at me in the eye, and I'm like, he's dead. And I remember she just drops to her knees and hits her face on the ground, and she was devastated. It's not easy losing someone, especially when it's not expected, but it's even harder when you're at a funeral and you're looking at your 4 sisters and they're all bawling their eyes out, and you know that they're never going to have their father to walk them down the aisle. And I would say at that point, I could have gone in either directions. I could have been, caused issues, or I could have gone the other way. And I didn't know what direction that was. Fast forward, all right, back to the bear crawl. The reason I bear crawled, sorry, my mouth's getting a little dry. The reason I bear crawled the New York City Marathon was to raise awareness for suicide prevention and mental health. And I thought, what's the hardest thing I could possibly do that no one's ever done? Right? This is about the last 20 yards of the bear crawl. I started with 20 friends in Brooklyn, and we went over the Brooklyn Bridge, up Park Avenue, down through Harlem, through Central Park. By the time I get to Central Park, there was thousands of people just waiting. It was cool because all these brands were sponsoring and raising all this money. We ended up raising $2 million in 24 hours for this foundation. And I was like, man, this is so cool. I just set a world record. We just raised all this money. But at mile 20, I had this epiphany. This thing that was going through my brain of, man, we're raising all this money. I see it coming in. My friends are giving me updates. I know we're bringing this awareness, but how is this really going to impact people? How can you really impact people's mental health? How can you really help people prevent suicide? What does that look like? And I started thinking, I'm like, man, take your hands out of your pocket. Live a life without your hands in your pocket. That's why I'm here right now. And I remember at mile 20 specifically, I had 6.2 miles left. And I was like, I'm going to start living a life without my hands in my pocket. And ever since that moment, that was the second biggest change in my life, and the second, since my dad passed, since I looked at my sisters, at the funeral, at that moment, I'm like, I'm going to start living a life without my hands in my pocket. And my goal in life is to help every single human, as many as I can until I die, wake up happy. Wake up with a smile on their face. And, I wrote down a couple things that I do to essentially live life since that day without my hands in my pocket and to maximize time and really become limitless in what we're capable of. They don't all have to be physical, all right? Your mind is your most powerful, but your mind, if you don't use your mind correctly, it can also be the most negative. Now, one thing I do every day, I did it this morning. I call 2 people. Every single day is 2 different people. One person I call and I thank. And it can be like, hey, Lisa, I appreciate you. I appreciate your talk this morning. I appreciate you chatting on neuroplasticity. I just appreciate you. Thank you so much. The other person, what's your name? Kelsey. Chelsea or Kelsey? Kelsey. Kelsey. I'm sorry. I didn't take the time to listen to you yesterday. I apologize to you, right? So you thank someone every day and you apologize to someone every day. It gets your mind right. And it gives you that burning sensation when you start the day. I like to do it in the morning. I called my mom this morning. I was like, I own a farm, and I was like, thanks, Mom, for just looking out for the farm while I'm at Summit. I appreciate you. Just a simple little things, right? That's number 1. Number 2 is really exciting. Does anyone know what type 1, type 2, and type 3 fun is? One person? A couple of people? Cool. Type 1 fun is what we did last night. Everyone's dancing, we're drinking. Some people are doing fucking ketamine. I don't know what you guys are doing. I'm like, what is this guy on? It's type 1 fun. It's fun during, you're talking about it, you're laughing, you're on Mars, whatever you're doing. Type 3 fun is when I was on Aconcagua. Aconcagua, anyone know where Aconcagua is, Mount Aconcagua? Anyone? It's the highest point in South America. And I went there last year with this guy, Nims. Has anyone seen 14 Peaks documentary? Amazing. So this guy, Nims, said, Dev, let's go climb Aconcagua. So we have a group of 20. Now, Nims is a lunatic, right? This is actually in Antarctica, but we'll get to that. Nims is nuts. And so we're supposed to climb this mountain in 10 days. And he says, Dev, there's a storm coming in. We have to climb it now, and we have to climb it like today. I'm like, how are you? We're supposed to climb this in 10 days. What are you talking about? He's like, we have to sprint up this thing and sprint down. I said, okay. So we start with 20 people, and we start going. Camp 1, everyone's, all these other groups are on the mountain. They're sleeping. We're just like, see you later. We go up. Camp 2, people are sleeping. See you later. Go up. Camp 3, we're not sleeping at all. We're just going. Not a lot of people are acclimated. And you just see the 20 start going down, 19, 18, 17. They start dropping like flies. 2 people got helicoptered off. 1 person died, unfortunately, hypothermia. And, we're about 50 yards from Summit. We're down to 9 people. And there's this person in between Nims and myself. And she looks at the summit. We've been going for about 40 hours at this point. She goes, I can't do this. We're like, what? She's like, I can't make it. It's 50 yards away. That 50 yards is going to take you 25 minutes. You're walking like this. If there's a step, you're like this. You're not acclimated. Your body is breaking down as we're walking. She turns around. You're this close to death. That's what type 3 fun is. You're about to die, or you're touching death. Maybe you flatline. Maybe you come back to life. That's type 3 fun. It's not fun at all during words. It is not fucking fun when you're close to death. But maybe you talk about it now, after a couple of years, after 3 years. You laugh out. You're like, holy shit, glad I'm alive. Type 2 fun is that sweet spot, I think, that's in between. Type 2 fun is Antarctica. what she just showed, is early in January, SpaceX reached out and they wanted to develop, or they wanted to test this new Starlink device. So I'm like, cool, let's go there. So we brought the first ever satellite to the top of Antarctica. We tested it. I got to FaceTime my mom. It was fun. It was hard, but it was like, we were laughing. We spent New Year's Eve there. It was cool. You're on fixed lines, right? So you're chilling. We're drinking. We're having a good time. This is type 2 fun to me, right? Yes, it's negative 50 degrees. But this is my type 2 fun, right? Or cold plunging. Anyone cold plunge? Yeah, let's fucking go. Cold plunging. You get in, you're like, fuck, this is not fun, but you're laughing, you're joking. I think you should do type 2 fun on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly, and on an annual basis. If you can do it on an annual basis, it fixes your brain. It takes those suicidal thoughts away from you. It takes your mental health and it increases in the most positive manner. I do cold plunge about 5 times a day. I think type 2 fun is a massive, massive key to staying happy. And when you can do it on a daily, a weekly, a monthly, and an annual basis, you also add something to your calendar that you look forward to. It's type 2. Add something type 2 fun to your calendar. Number 3, do something every day that you used to do as a kid. What's one thing you love that you used to do as a kid?
Playing
Soccer. I love it. Lisa, I'm picking on you.
I would tease my brothers.
Maybe don't do that. No. Tease your brothers. What about you? What's your name? Gabby. Dance. Any dancers in here? Amazing. One more. Draw. Amazing. Don't lose that sensation as a kid when you were laughing, when you're 8 years old and you're like, what is life? Like, there's no worries. I'm going to go get in trouble. I'm going to go climb a tree. I'm going to just go have fun. I'm going to go kick a soccer ball around. Doing something every day as a kid, just one thing. Sometimes I climb trees and people are like, Dev, you're 31 years old. What the fuck are you doing? I'm like, well, I don't know. Just having fun. I'm a kid, man. I saw someone, my man back there, he was playing the guitar, just like laughing, man. Have and do something fun that you used to do as a kid every day. And the last thing, and then I'm going to open it up for a couple questions, is make time for the things that matter. Make time for the things that matter. If it really, really, really fucking matters to you and you want to go on that adventure, you want to spend more time with your kid, you want to spend more time with your significant other, you want to do some fucking ketamine, whatever it is, make time for the things that matter. The things that matter are the most important to you. They're not the most important to me, they're most important to you. You're the one that needs to make a priority out of it. If you made time for your wedding, if you made time to come sit here, if you made time to come to this summit, you can make time for the things that really fucking matter to you. Lisa, how do you make time for the things that matter to you?
I have to learn how to say no to all the other things.
Say no to the other things. The power of no. You got to make time for the things that matter. So to reiterate, and this is something I met Lisa a couple years ago at the last summit, and she's like, Dev, you know that when you give speeches, people only digest 10% of what you say. And I'm like, really? She's like, yes, but if you repeat the things, at the end, they'll digest 80%. Is that right? 80, 70, 80?
Clearly digested
The whole thing. So let's go over it one more time. Call 2 people every day. Thank and apologize to them. Type 2 fun. Go to Antarctica. Do something every day that you used to do as a kid. Have some fun, laugh. Life's not that fucking serious. We're all going to die. Have some fun. Be you. And then the last thing is make time for things that matter. All right? I appreciate you guys having me. I'm going to open up for a couple questions. All right, what do we got? I don't know. Do you hand around a mic, Jody? How do we do this? You just like raise your hand, or how do you do this? Any questions? What do we got? So when I was at Richards Island, 2 weeks ago, we're planning on running the first marathon on the moon. So we're planning it now. I know it sounds fucking crazy, but I'm really excited for that. We could probably get it done in the next like 20 years, which is cool. He's charging like $450,000 per person to go into space, and I think if we can get that, essentially that concept, we can go. It's like a 7-day trip. I think there's a SpaceX guy in here, isn't there? I think he said it at dinner. Anyways, it's like 7 days to get to the moon, and so we're kind of work on that. And then I go to Everest in May, so that's pretty exciting. I'm excited for that. Yeah. Any other questions? What do you got?
How do you train for a marathon on the moon?
Ooh, so we're trying to figure out right now. I would say it's a lot of understanding what the technology is, the different suits that you're wearing, the gravity, all that. It's probably more the safety of the rockets, right? I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. And so I would say it's probably just learning the new things, right? Like I didn't come from mountaineering. I kind of just show up. You show the fuck up and you figure it out, like anything. None of us we're born and we're like, oh, we have this like founder experience or like we have this business. You figure it out, along the way. So I think you kind of figure it out as much as possible to de-risk the chance of death, and specifically in the rocket realm, I think. What do you got?
Similar question, but I don't think there's a playbook for training how to run a bear crawl marathon. What was that process like?
No, good question. So I remember I was in England at the time, and this guy, Ross Edgley. Anyone heard of Ross? Ross swam around Great Britain in 157 days. He didn't touch land. He swam around the entire piece of land. The guy is nuts. And him and I were doing this climb together. He's like, Dev, you should go bear crawl a marathon. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? And I remember bear crawling 100 yards, and I come back to America, and I told all my friends, I'm about to bear crawl the New York City Marathon. And the next day, I bear crawl a mile, and it took me like 3 hours. And I'm like, holy shit, why did I tell everyone I was going to do this? And so what I did every morning at about 3 a.m., I would wake up, and I'd go to a football field, and I would just bear crawl around it until I would either get blisters. Because if you're blisters and you're constantly wearing and tearing at them, that recovery takes like 2 weeks. So you want to get to the point where like the blister's about to be there and get up. And so you start building up your hand strength. I started developing these weird muscles, and I don't know, it was strange, but it was just bear crawling, just like anything. You show up and figure it out. But bear crawling, stretching, a lot of cold plunges. I never smoked weed when I was growing up, but it was like the only thing that actually helped me recover, to be honest. Like it was the only thing that relaxed my muscles. I remember like being in bed and just like shaking because I just bear crawled 5 miles like 10 days in a row, and I'm just shaking. And that's when I started taking some edibles, which, fuck yeah, cannabis. What do you got, someone? What's your name?
It's Avisha.
Avisha.
Yes. What process did you go through to heal your body, and what tools did you use? I imagine fun and exercise were your tools.
Yeah.
And anything else?
I didn't talk about my dad's death for about 10 years at all. I didn't know if it was people's business. I didn't know if they cared. I didn't know how to talk about it. I kind of felt like, man, I'm such a loser. Like my dad took his life. Like what the heck? And, people would ask, like, hey, you going to your dad's for Thanksgiving or your parents? And I'm like, oh, no, just like blow it off. And I would say that's probably one of the biggest benefits I got out of bear crawling the marathon is I was forced to go on Good Morning America or CNBC or Forbes or whatever it was, any podcast or, live TV. And I'd be on live TV and they're asking, I'm like, yep, this is what happened to my dad. And it really pulled it out. And I remember after every single interview, even right now, I feel like a fresh breath of air, Like, suicide's real. Mental health is fucking real. Like, shit happens. We're all humans, And the more I talked about it, and I still talk about it, it's helping me more and more get over my grief, for sure. So I would recommend if anyone has lost a parent or has gone through a trauma, is talk about it, And the other second benefit out of that is, I saved a kid's life last week. People are constantly hitting me up online like, Dev, I'm going through it. What do you think? And I'm like, I invite them to the farm. And I'm like, let's do a sonic hold. Let's see what's going through your head. And just like getting them out and talking about it literally saves people's lives. So I think just talking about it, You got to talk. You got to talk, and you have to have someone that listens. So, what else?
Hey, Devin. So I follow you on Instagram,
Thank you.
and you're always doing all this crazy stuff. So every time a post comes up, I'm like, what is he on? My question to you is, what are your favorite supplements?
Life. No, I think my favorite supplement, when I was in Africa, and it actually talks on, Oz was talking about it a little bit, and Lisa, but when I was in Africa 3 years ago doing Kilimanjaro, which is an amazing mountain. If you guys don't have any climbing experience, I recommend going to Kili. It's just beautiful, it's fun, it's not hard, and it's really not, I promise. It's not crazy. And I get to the bottom of the mountain, and we're all done. I go into this village, and this kid, these like village kids were like running up to me, and they're like, buy this thing. And my guide was like, oh yeah, I get that. That's baobab. I'm like, what the fuck is baobab? It's baobab seed. And so I'm trying to like break it open. I can't break it open. Finally, this village leader dude walks over. I think he's village leader. He looked like a village leader, I think. And he breaks it open, and we're eating it. And he's like, this has 6 times the amount of vitamin C than an orange, and 4 times the amount of potassium than a banana. And so I found this organic baobab farm in Africa, and we ship up the baobab, and we combine it with pre and probiotics for my gut, for your gut. And I own a vitamin and supplement company, ProMix, Devon 20 for 20% off. And it's called D-Blow, and it helps your gut health. And your gut is honestly, Oz said it, prebiotics feed the probiotics in your gut. They're 2 bacterias. You need both of them to stay alive. Like we can't stay alive if we don't eat food. Probiotics cannot stay alive if they don't have prebiotics feeding them. So by those two, the combination of those two, I take it every morning, and I don't know. I'm happy. My skin has stayed clear. I have energy. But I do think it's all about your gut and your biome. So if that helps. Allie.
As you were talking, I
By the way, I took like 5-year sex gummies before this, and like, holy shit. I'm gonna get out of here.
So as you were talking, it reminded me of this quote that a teacher of mine said last week, actually. He said, whatever you find easy, you will do with ease, and whatever you find hard, you will sabotage. Something along those lines. Like, Elon Musk doesn't think that doing Tesla's hard. He's just like, oh, of course we can do it. And I actually think you're the best example of that, because as you were talking, and you're like, oh, Antarctica is like type, it's like low-key physical freedom. But that's a huge mindset shift. And I look at like the things that I didn't think I could do. Like we
Yeah.
talked about the psychology is a huge part of that, like breaking through. But for people that are looking at you, I could never do that. What is the mental practice or the thing? Because everyone
Yeah,
could do what you're doing. We're all have those innate abilities. But
for sure.
there's a gap.
I would say it's increasing your grit level. It's, you can though. And you know what though? You start with a cold shower. She said she can't cold plunge. Cold shower, 10 seconds, and the next day 15. And then your grit level's like 15 seconds. I fucking did it yesterday, 20 seconds. And you're like, dang, why am I 7 minutes in this cold plunge like a savage? You just start increasing your grit level. I didn't start with Antarctica. I started with Kilimanjaro. I actually didn't even start with Kilimanjaro. I started with this mountain. Actually, the mountain I started with was the one Ross Edgley and I were on. It's the highest point of England. It's a 5-hour hike, right? And then I was like, okay, and I threw myself into the wolves on this, but then it was Rainier, and then it was Kili. And like you just start leveling up. Now I feel really comfortable on mountains, but I do think it's increasing your grit level over and over again. You don't have to do a marathon right off the bat. Go do a 5K. Go run a fucking mile. You don't have to do a full marathon. Run a mile. Do 2 miles. Just start to increase. And I think that's where your X factor is pulled out of you. Everyone in this room has an X factor, and it's just about deep diving into it. And just like you take psychedelics and you go deep, 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 I do physical exercise and I go deep, deep, deep. And I just keep finding how deep I can go. That makes sense. What do we got in the back?
One or each of those categories? Like, do you think it's better to just
go out and search for the other people that are also pushing their limits? Or do you inspire people to like, no, go find the people who aren't, be the generator, be the one who is inspiring the people to push their limits?
I think there's like kind of two answers to that. One is if you're 100% yourself, like 100% of the time, I think that's what success is, right? I think when you can be yourself 100% of the time, that's like the ultimate success. You don't have to change yourself for your mom. I got invited to the White House and I met Biden and I was literally wearing this and I'm like, what's up, dog? Like, I think when you can be yourself 100% of the time, it attracts people that are also themselves 100% of the time. And normally, like you're getting what you're putting out in the world. You know what I mean? I also think, so being yourself 100% of the time is one part to the equation. And then the other is, yeah, I mean, my friends that are, like we just biked across America from San Diego to Florida with, 10 of my buddies, and it's like average. I look at them as like average people. I know that sounds crazy, right? It's this guy, Jesse Isler, if you guys know him, this guy, Rick Steele, Chris, like they're lunatics. But I truly look at them as like, that's my average, that's my baseline. So I think all of us have the opportunity to determine like what our baseline is around us. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think the first part of the question, if you're yourself 100% of the time, you're going to attract those same people in. It's all about what you put out in the world.
Last question.
Right in the middle. To who? Maddie. He's a kid. I haven't talked to him in a long time. Maybe like 15 years. I think he's in jail. No. What's this?
What's so impactful about your life is that there's this seemingly like fearlessness in the face of death, out of this grief as a child, this like unimaginable grief. And I just love to hear anything you can say about your relationship with death and your journey of how that relationship has shifted.
For sure. I have this constant story that goes through my brain, and I don't know, I might need to get help for it, but it's this story of if I'm 85 and I regretted something, and it goes through my brain all the time, all throughout the day. Today, it's happened 4 times. I'm like, damn, am I going to regret if I don't go do this Move Joy? Am I going to regret if I don't go listen to Lisa? Am I going to regret it if I don't, go get, this, whatever it is. It's just like I have this constant fear of having regret when I'm like 85 or older of, man, well, what would have happened if I didn't do that or did do that or whatever, right? So I think that is what drives me a lot. Probably my best trait is curiosity. I'm so curious. I'm curious to listen to everyone here. I'm curious to, grab a drink with you guys or do whatever tonight, meet everyone. Like, I'm so curious. I'm very curious. I want to see, what the fuck is in Antarctica? What's in Africa? How is this village, how are they getting water? Like, I'm just curious. And I think when you're curious, you start to maximize your time and you start to honestly live limitless.